Paul's going to source steel and components for a new assembly. And he's going to use 3 suppliers that he wants to source this with. One's going to be here in the United States, one's going to be in Mexico, one's going to be located in Germany. And this is the kind of event, because of all the circumstances that Ben mentioned, that lowest price and a competitive bid is kind of meaningless until you've been able to normalize all of this data across all these different dimensions, right? Different currencies, the freight costs from these different countries to your location, and the raw material index that goes underneath those all. Like in the old world, like this lives in Excel. Like there's multiple tabs deep, and I have an analyst sitting on the side of me creating a spreadsheet to kind of tabulate all these bids and look at and compare them. And the 2 of us together are going to go out to our suppliers for a couple of weeks back and forth to fix mistakes they've made, places where they tried to hide the ball, and just to see how do we get to an apples to apples comparison. And after that couple of weeks process, usually we still end up with a stack of quotes that were in the supplier's format and therefore hard to compare. And I kind of have to make a judgment call and hope for the best.
And the cost of all that hoping is real, right? Both in terms of hard dollars, but also the credibility of procurement as a function.
Right. So let's look at that the Arkestro way, right? As a predictive procurement solution, like what does that look like? And so let's look at how Paul is going to be building this event using Arkestro, going to our line items tab here, and just going step by step, watching us build that using our total landed cost functionality. And so we're going to start with our primary currency as US dollars, because at the end of this event, I want to have that apples to apples comparison of all my suppliers coming back to something that I understand and do business in day to day. But as I said, like these suppliers are in different countries. So I'm going to add a couple of currencies here to make sure that they are able to bid in their local currency if they choose so. And as you can see here, like Arkestro automatically just pulls in today's exchange rate between the dollars and the other currencies. And so I don't have to go Google an exchange rate real quick, don't have to talk to my finance person, don't have to look at a different rate sheet in a different tab. Arkestro pulls that in right away at the spot for me. As I save my changes, I then go to the next item, right? Making sure that the part that used to live in Excel with all those different components and the moving parts of these seal stamped components, making sure that those come to life in Arkestro. And so for the commodity index price, I'm going to make sure that I use this baseline per unit price. But then we mentioned a couple of other ways in which the supplier need to add other costs. And so we have supplier specific tooling costs that I already added a column for here. I'm just going to quickly show you like a third building block in how I can add another pricing column that's going to make sure that all these formulas get added together for all these different columns. So let's make sure that we have the freight over here. And I can then, as I select freight and title it whatever I'd like to, make sure that I kind of give it a category. So not just in this event, I can see the different components separately, but also over time for multiple events that I run, or that maybe my friend in a different business unit runs, or in a different geography runs, that we can pull those out, and then we can compare those apples to apples. And then we can separate the freight cost from the base item price and things like that. Or maybe in your case, that's packaging or equipment and tooling or a different type of cost that you want to separately specify. As I create that column, easy, and I can launch this event right now. And so making sure that at the end of this event, we have all these different components sitting here side by side, and every supplier's quote, even though it was in their own currency from their own location, I can compare in a total landed cost way, apples to apples.
That's powerful because it saves real time, right? All of that math, that normalization back to a base currency, that total landed cost calculation, that used to be the job of an analyst, and now it's the job of the platform.